Hi, Marge Gravoni. I wrote it down because I didn't want to forget any of this. And I know you're starting the budget. And so a lot of people don't know, but there's over 700 employees. Now, a lot of times there's discussion about teachers, and we all appreciate the teachers, but I wanted to give a little bit of recognition to the support staff. And I wrote it down because I didn't want to leave anybody out, which I probably will. But there's the people, and these people, the majority of them all deal with students. So they're as much a part of the student's day as the teacher is. There's the kitchen folks. You've got helpers, bakers, a cook, and the manager in there. You have drivers. The van driver who drives the van for the deliveries and picks up the food for the lunches and stuff. You've got the grounds people. That's maintenance and ground crew, custodians, mechanics. Mechanics keep the buses running. Custodians, they're the ones that clean up puke that the kids throw up in. They get the toilets running again. Noon aides, good luck to them. That's a tough job. You have all those kids in the cafeteria and on the playground. The library staff, the bus and the van drivers. These are the ones who, and I don't think anybody ever wants to ride on a bus all by themselves with 50 to 70 kids. But God bless them, that's what they do. So, yoo-hoo for them. Secretaries, nurse assistants, and ed techs. Now, that's a lot of people. And I think there are people that don't get recognized as much as they should. It's the support staff, and I know their contract is, I think, this year. So I wanted to give them a shout out because they don't get the recognition that I think they deserve because they impact our students and our children as much as any of the teachers do, which I love the teachers. But support for the staff is great. So thank you.
Thank you. Who's next? Anyone else want to? Very good.
Hello, my name is Emma Morrison, and as a member of this community and student at Windham High School, I believe it would be unreasonable to remove the books from the library that are being discussed currently. After researching a little bit, it has been shown statistically that 9.5% of American teens identify as LGBTQ. Because of this, public schools should recognize the need for inclusive resources in the libraries. It is important that young adolescents feel safe. These materials provide this feeling. You have no idea if they have a supportive system at home to embrace self-expression, and you have no idea what they are feeling inside and how they wish to express that. Without these books, these books increase teens' feelings of belonging and self-worth with messages of acceptance and encouragement. That's all I had to say. But
yeah. Thank you.
My thought just dovetails really nicely with Emma's and the budget comment. So my name is Kate Turpin. I'm a resident of Windham and actually a sponsor of a scholarship at WHS. This is my first school board meeting in this district. I decided to come when I saw, obviously, a billboard in the center of Windham that had the word porn and RSU14. But here we are, not talking about the book. I'm here to speak in support of circulating diverse literature, books that uplift marginalized voices and experiences. I found a slew of data that Emma actually mentioned that says up to 10% of 13 to 17-year-olds identify as lesbian, gay, transgender, bisexual, queer, or with other romantic and gender-based identities. This 10% does not magically transform overnight on their 12th birthday. They are 11-year-olds, they are 7-year-olds, and they are babies sometimes. By limiting what resources they have, we are limiting their chances of success and happiness, as there is an equally large slew of data backing up the risk factors of LGBT youth who are not supported, who are not celebrated, and who are not spoken about. To achieve this aim, I want to propose that RSU14 start hiring for a diversity, equity, and inclusion coordinator, because to the extent of my research, I did not see somebody on district staff allocated in the budget. I would stop now if you could respond to me telling me if that was true or false. someone to intentionally integrate diverse, age-appropriate literature and organize a unified district plan to tackle topics like racism, homophobia, ableism, xenophobia, etc. A diversity coordinator would eliminate the risk that well-meaning staff members assume when trying to advocate for a marginalized population of students. A diversity coordinator could sit with community members to listen, become a bridge, and educate. RSU14 needs a diversity coordinator to stay relevant and on par with the other schools that have this position allocated in their budgets. Thank you.
Thank you. Who would like to go next? Perfect.
Hi, my name is Dawn Mativier. I thank you very much for giving us the protocol concerning this book. I am before you now. You had mentioned that there is a complaint process that needs to be filed, and I am wondering how we go about finding this complaint process, where that complaint goes through, and how we get that started, as each and every one of us, I know there's a lot of people here for this reason, wanted to form or bring a complaint against this book. I don't know where to find that information. If you could publish that information, that would be really nice for the rest of us. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm Scott McDonald. I live in Windham. I just want to say, nobody here, I don't know about everybody here, but I have nothing against anybody's ideas, views, or anything, but I think it's wrong that basically pornography is okay if it's doled out by the school. That is absurd. There's an LD 123 that's trying to get through now, and that would remove that from the state law, and obviously that needs to be done. This is grotesque. Everybody here knows it, and I implore you all to don't think this is going to change because you complained about a book. I've complained about books. You're going to have to get together and homeschool and do everything you can to protect your kids until this is removed. We need school choice. We need to have some choice, but right off quick, we need to have them stop handing out pornography, no matter how you identify or anything else. I have really nothing against anybody, but this is absurd and everybody knows it. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Jennifer White, and I'm the owner of a Joyful Noise Christian Daycare and Learning Center here in town for the past 24 years. Licensed for 100 children, and we have an after-school program that we can take children up through the age of 12, according to the state. I am really just flabbergasted that we're even having to come to this tonight. Let me just say, according to the child care licensing rules that I have to follow as a state licensed provider, if I expose a child to profane language, depictions of violence, use of illicit drugs, or sexual content, it's considered illegal. I am prohibited from doing that. Prohibited. If I have an 11-year-old from RSU14 that comes to my program and brings one of these books, and I say books, plural, because it's not one, and they bring it into my facility, what does that do for me? I have pornography and other kids looking at it, and younger children. These kids bring those books home and they have a 5 or 6-year-old brother or sister. Is this okay? No. I would urge you, if you care about our children's education, you look past personality differences and you think of the legacy that you personally are going to leave behind for this community. Okay? This is not about personality and power struggles. This is about doing the right thing for our children in this community. And let me just tell you, reading an article that was put out in Psychology Today. It was printed back in 2019, and I happened to just stumble across it, was reading it. Every 9 minutes, Child Protective Services substantiates or finds evidence for claim of child sexual abuse. 82% of all victims are under 18 or females. 66% of childhood victims are 12 to 17-year-olds. 34% of the victims are under 12 years old. And there's a lot of them that are child-on-child sexual behaviors. Do you know why this is happening, according to what they have printed? It's because they're being exposed to pornography. So should they be getting it here in the schools? No, no. We need to stop it. Please, please, if you care and you love our children, and I believe you all do, but I really think we need to get past all of these personality conflicts and power struggles and make the right decisions and set a standard for our community.
Thank you very much.
My name is Courtney Edwards. I am a mother of 2 children that I have no plans on sending to your public school system, which you will be receiving my letter of intent the following year. I am here to bring light onto the book Genderqueer, in which inside you will not only find sexual depictions of children engaging in sexual activities, but also you will find a very concerning website called kink.com. In case you weren't aware, I am here to bring you some insight on what that site has to offer. The moment this website pops up, you'll find a rather large warning of adult content. This warning reads as followed. By proceeding any further to this website, you agree to the following terms and conditions. You certify that you are 18 years of older, according to the minimum age requirement by your state and county law. You agree that you will not permit any persons under the age of 18 years of age to have access to any of this material contained within its sites. The following categories within that site include gangbanging, family ties, which is indeed incest, anal vaginal fisting, bondage, cream pies, and we're not referring to Little Debbie snacks. Also, double anal. With that being said, I want you all to know that you have indeed crossed your own laws that protect the public school system as its own governed entity. And the day will come in which all of us concerned parents and residents will in turn be the ones to say unto you that you have indeed committed a Class C felony, which serves up to 5 years in prison and up to a $5,000 fine. Also, I would like to add that we are all aware of your attorney's office going around to school boards and ministers and teachers on how to fight against the parents. And just so you all know, we are not going anywhere and the fire will not be put out.
My name is Kelly Moxie. I am a resident of Windham, a mother of 2 in the district, and an LGBTQ+ ally. Like any parent, I have a right to deem what's appropriate for my children. But I'm able to contact the school if there's things I find are not appropriate. So my child would be excluded from, whatever I deem necessary, or deem appropriate. I don't have a right to deem what's appropriate for an entire district, nor should I. We shouldn't ban any books. If we ban books such as Genderqueer, we're banning inclusivity, and we are telling students that see any part of themselves that they don't belong. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Erin Hansen, and my husband Rob and I are parents to 2 Windham High School students. I struggled to decide how to address my concerns this evening. The question that keeps coming to my mind is why? Why are these materials present in our middle and high school libraries? I am aware there's more than one book in question, but the one I specifically saw was Genderqueer, so that's where I'll focus some of my comments. When I first heard about the book, I did some research for myself. I was horrified by what I saw. I was able to read some of the book before I decided I'd seen enough. The pictures in this graphic novel are indeed graphic. The The accompanying language is shocking and profane. I'm not even comfortable sharing examples here because of how uncomfortable it makes me as an adult. I looked up reviews for genderqueer and the recommended reading age is 18+. In other words, it's for adults. In a comic book form. Again, why? Why is a book showing explicit sexual acts that is rated for adults present in cartoon form in our schools? Parents should not have to worry about things like this in our public schools. In the Windham High School Handbook, your technology use standards state that school computers for pornography is extremely inappropriate. How are you justifying violating your own policy? The most disappointing thing about this for me is that people will target an anti-gay agenda as the reason for opposition to this book, to distract from the real issue at hand. It's easy to explain away this book by saying it was chosen for the sake of representation and inclusion. I myself am a special educator. Part of my job is to promote inclusion. If I were asked to use material like this, I would quit my job. My concern about the nature of this material would not change whether the characters were gay, straight, transgender, whatever. I am not anti-people. I am pro-child. I am pro-families. Parents know what's best for their child. It is not your job to decide for us with matters such as this. This is to the school board members specifically. I do not envy the position you are in right now. However, I want to take this opportunity to remind you that you are in those seats because you were elected by many of the people sitting in this room. We elected you because we trust you to do the right thing for our children, so do it.
My name is Mike Trombley. I'm from Windham. I really don't want to be here. I wish the board could simply do the job they're elected to do, and that was that. And I've avoided these kinds of meetings since my kids were little because I've heard about how unpleasant they can be. But I have 3 kids in Windham schools, 1 in primary and 1 in Manchester, and 1 here at the middle school. And when I learned that there's a movement to remove supposedly obscene books from the library, I realized I had to get involved. I read Genderqueer and Alex and Charlie just today. I found Alex and Charlie a bit boring, a basic run-of-the-mill teen love story. It has a few quick, nondescript mentions of sex in it, but it would be unrealistic if it pretended that teens never think about sex. I have 0 problem with this book being offered in the library, and I say that as a parent of 3 young kids. Genderqueer is a different book altogether, though. While I found Alex and Charlie a bit of a slog, I was captivated by Genderqueer. I learned about what it's like to grow up a different kind of kid. I can imagine that young people who are questioning their own identity would find it enormously helpful to read this book. Yes, there are a few, very few, drawings of sexual acts in the book. They are representing real things that happen in real life. This is not pornography. It is not obscenity. It is art. It is literature. Libraries are full of books about all kinds of ideas and situations. They are books about war, crime, drugs, gangs. We learn from these books. We are not afraid of these books. We don't accuse librarians of trying to get kids to join gangs or start wars simply because they carry these books. I fail to see the difference with a book like Genderqueer. No one will become gay from reading this book, and that certainly isn't the intent. But if we remove this book from the library, we would be robbing vulnerable, questioning students for a chance to feel valid. And I don't mean to compare war to violence or sex. I hope most kids never encounter the kinds of violence they might play out in Call of Duty. That violence is horrible. But sex, on the other hand, is a normal part of life. We shouldn't pretend it doesn't exist at the very moment kids begin to wonder about it. I'll leave you with a quote from Judy Blume, who has had to respond to calls for bans on her own books. About her book Forever, Blume said, "Kids are always asking, how old do I have to be before I can read this book? An impossible question to answer. Some kids are ready at 12, some not until later. They usually know themselves. If it makes them feel uncomfortable, they can put the book down. If they have questions, it helps if they can ask an adult who's also read the book in full, hopefully." What a wonderfully simple approach that I think everybody could learn from.
My name is Carrie. I'm here tonight to address the concerns I've heard from within the community in regards to the removal of sexually explicit reading material. The argument at hand is that by removing such material, it's equivalent to removing the child. While I can sure understand your argument, I would like to also add that while such reading material may be deemed educational for some, for others it could be an extreme trigger from sexual childhood trauma. With that being said, I'm here to enlighten concerned parents that such reading material is in fact available at your local public library. Feel free to parent how you feel necessary outside the public school. Thank you.
My name is Rebecca, and I am a resident of Windham. I am also the mother of 4 sons who are all in the RSU14 school system. Recently, I learned about the books Genderqueer, Identical, and the Nick and Charlie series in the high school and middle school libraries. I don't consider myself a typical millennial parent, but I am a millennial, and I do understand that those who are tired of attempting to fight these things, I get it, because I know there is an underlying fear of rejection within my generation that can sometimes make us apathetic, complacent, or lazy when it comes to fighting anything that feels uncomfortable. There's a powerful scene in the movie Titanic where a mother is calmly tucking her kids into bed and telling them a story as a ship is sinking. That's how I see my life. The mother knew that there was nothing she could do to stop it, and rather than dragging her kids along with her, likely traumatizing them as she attempted to push her way through onto one of the lifeboats, she decided to protect them from the chaos around them by making their moments together as special as she could. I am that mother, and I desperately want to protect my children. And I know that even though it might feel like the ship is sinking to a lot of us, I want to change the narrative of that particular scene and at least try to do more. So here I am. This is me trying. Coming forward to meetings like these, making my voice heard, and to say that my husband and I do not want these books in the school's libraries. And continue to hope and pray that the superintendent and the school board members listen to the parents and the citizens of RSU 14 to do the right thing, remove these books.
Evening, I'm Louis Millette. I have a daughter at Windham Primary, and I want to bring to everybody's mind a quotation from a Protestant minister at the end of World War II. Martin Niemöller put out his quotation, "First they came." Now you may ask me, well, how does that deal with books? Well, 1933, May 10th, there was a mass burning of books in the center of Berlin, 20,000 books. I understand that that is a giant leap from 2 or 3 that are in our public libraries or public school libraries. However, denying inclusivity is how that all started. First, they went after one group. Nobody said anything because they were not part of that group. Then they went after another group. Still, nobody spoke up because they were not part of that group. Where does it stop? Just because these books get the axe or don't get the axe, what's next? Catcher in the Rye, To Kill a Mockingbird, Romeo and Juliet. They all have sensitive subjects, and that is where an onus is on the parents to address those topics, which I understand can be uncomfortable to touch on. But I recommend actually watching an episode of Bluey with your kids, because that show is not so much for kids as it is to teach parents how to parent. how to handle those rough, difficult subjects that you find uncomfortable with your children. All right? So, I implore the district to weigh in on the inclusivity for those who are underrepresented. Thank you.
My name is Ken Anderson. I live here in Windham. Just a bit of encouragement to the listening audience. When God's word is spoken, we need to receive it with humility. The best thing we can do for our children is to speak the word of God into their lives. Not sometimes. Not sometimes, always. Commit our children to God and defend our children in the faith. Our children are never more in danger than when we lie to them. The book Genderqueer is complete with all the trappings of a debased mind. You should know, those who promote this trash, that your mind is in danger of being lost. Your mind is reduced in quality and value. You have become futile in your thinking, unprincipled, and your mind is profane perpetually. No small part of this book or any books like it should be allowed in our school, no matter what age you are. This type of book causes so much pain and corrupts the viewer's mind. We have to put our foot down when it comes to things that we take into our mind. Parents, our greatest joy should be to see our children walk in truth. Our faith in Christ should govern everything we do. Fathers and mothers, take back the institution of family that God has entrusted to you. Most everything the culture stands for is designed to play heavy on our emotions. Start with small things. Stop watching shows that degrade the family. Stop watching things that are filthy and that you know are wrong. Tear up anything that is not pure or good for your mind to look at. Throw out whatever is robbing you of joy. The stuff that the DOE is pushing in our schools is vile at best. This should be an indicator that God is using the wicked to bring about the redemption of some. God tells us in the book of Philippians that we are to stand fast in one spirit, with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel, and be not terrified of our adversaries. Those who are promoting this type of material should repent before holy God and confess to him that you have sinned against him, and turn from your wicked, evil ways and receive the gift of salvation. Now, to the children, if someone is telling you that you can be whoever you want to be, then these people are not your friends. In fact, the spirit living in them is your enemy. And Christ, and you Christians, we need to pray for the lost. Do not stop praying and engaging with the schools.
Thank you, Mr. Anderson. Your time is up.
Hello, my name is Scott McDonald. I'm a former student at Windham High School. A lot happened, and I'm not going to go into it. Basically, these books are allowed, but when I was in my freshman year, I wanted to read a Bible story for my class, in my classroom, instead of Mice and Men. Was not allowed to, because it was not part of the curricular activity. And that's not banned, but Tom Sawyer is. That has some pretty bad language, and not gonna go too far from there. I also had to read a book my freshman year called, what was it? It was a Diary of a Part-Time Indian. It talked about people masturbating and all this other stuff, and it was raunchy, really raunchy, and I don't, after hearing what I saw on national television, I don't want to have anything to do with this school anymore, and my kids will never have anything to do with the school anymore when I have them. And I've been homeschooled for 2 more years now. I was homeschooled 8 out of my 12, or whatever it was. Anyways, 9 out of my 12. And I'd suggest whoever is here, I would really appreciate it if you would homeschool, because you learn a lot more, and all this other stuff is not going to help you in the long run. And, I mean, everybody knows me. I'm glad to know it. Anyways, thank you, and have a great night.
Good evening, and want to thank you for the opportunity to address you this evening. My name is Heather Siraki. I'm a mother of 3 adult sons, and I'm building a new home on Penny Whistle Drive here in Windham. We're all here because we care about the well-being of children. Innocence will be taken from them soon enough. In her autobiography, author Corrie ten Boom told a story about a situation that illustrates my point. As a young girl, while traveling with her father, Corrie asked her father about sex, and he looked at her as if to reply, but instead he set down their heavy traveling case and asked her to carry it, but she couldn't lift it. She said, "It's too heavy." "Yes," he said, and it would be a pretty poor father who would ask his little girl to carry such a load. It's the same way, Corrie, with knowledge. Some knowledge is too heavy for children. When you are older and stronger, you can bear it, but for now, you must trust me to carry it for you. It is not perfectly normal for the adults in the room to entice and provide sex manuals, erotic stories, and graphic illustrations to pollute and exploit children, especially against their parents' will. Children are naturally curious. They depend on adults to guide them and to guard them. Parents and guardians understand children can be damaged by carrying too much information when they are not ready, the effects of which may surface in seemingly odd ways: phobias, nervous tics, eating disorders, substance use, emotional outbursts, dysphoria, confusion. Age-appropriate material should be available in a manner that respects parents and guardians. The easiest solutions are often the best. Remove the books from the shelves. Provide a suggested reading list for parents or guardians. Many parents may prefer to consult their pediatrician and research appropriate material without involving the school. Another option may be to require opt-in signed permission slips other than the commonly offered opt-out. Don't assume children should have access to the material without permission. This option protects both the school and the child. Store the books with the school nurse or other licensed professional. Require annual permission slips for access to sexually explicit materials, and notify parents when and what materials have been provided to the child. Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Mary Beth Davidson. I'm a resident of Windham, a parent, and I'm a grandmother. I took the time to find a copy of Genderqueer. I wasn't able to find some of the other books that are in question. I'm not a young person, and so when I was growing up, when I was in my teens, that book would have been incredibly inflammatory, and it just didn't exist. And when I was in my teens, a teen in my town committed acts of self-harm and ended up ending his life because he was trans, and there were no resources. There were no books. There weren't people for him to talk to. People cared about this child, but nobody knew what to say or what to do. I didn't think genderqueer was pornographic, because there's a difference between explicit and pornographic. Obscenity means material that is meant to titillate. Genderqueer is material that is a memoir of a young person talking about their journey to understanding their own difficult sexuality. And I think that it's difficult for me to imagine a sixth grader reading that book because, yeah, it has a couple of explicit areas. But I think a sixth, seventh, or eighth grader who read that book would learn a lot about how we understand ourselves and how some of their classmates may understand themselves. Roughly 10% of the kids are going to be lesbian, gay, transgendered, bi. Those kids are all at risk, severe risk of self-harm. They may not have families who can begin to cope with their children's questions. Not only that, those kids are at tremendous risk of being bullied because they're different. All of us went to high school one way or another, and all of us know that all through life, people who are a little different get bullied, and it gets ugly. I found the book thoughtful and sincere, and I'll be honest, I'm uncomfortable with the explicit parts, but I believe that the message of the book absolutely outweighs that. The book vindicated my faith in school librarians. School librarians have a lot of education. You all know that, you hire people. I trust them, and I think we should too. They don't make these decisions lightly. They don't have an agenda. They really want to educate kids and keep them safe, because we all want that. And last of all, I used to be a bookseller many years ago. I owned a bookstore. Books have been a part of my life since I was a young child.
Thank you. I'm sorry, your time is up.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Ken Clark, and you come to these meetings a lot of times. I have two girls in school. Know what you want to say, and I feel I do, but I can't help but see you've got a lot of people talking on one side, other people on the other side. And I think one reason we do want to get together tonight is to try to find some middle ground in all this. And I think where the porn to me is just the low. Okay, I'm not against gays. If someone thinks I am, please prove it to me. If someone thinks I'm a racist, please prove it to me. I don't want to be accused of that anymore. The porn, like I said, has just hit an all-time low. I don't think porn is good for someone who is gay at a young age. I don't think it is good for someone that is straight at a young age. I'm going off my notes here, so I don't know why I have them, but I've asked the question. It's where the parents get frustrated with the school board, because you say you're open about this stuff, and all of a sudden what happens is you get a poster up on the school wall that my 11-year-old takes a picture of and shows me. And what it says, if your gender, pronoun, or name has changed, you may request an update to your school records. The name gender change request form is available at this website, at this link. Your school counselor is available if you have questions or want support. My 11-year-old saw this poster, as did all your 11-year-olds that went to the middle school. How do you think that but without my knowledge? Honestly, without my knowledge. That's why the parents are a little bit frustrated, because there's another question that I get frustrated with the school board because I've asked it many times. I've never gotten an answer. You say, ask the question, we'll do it. Send an email, we'll answer your question. I've never got an answer. And what that question was, is who within the entire SU14 school system is qualified, has the education, certification, qualification, designation, degrees, etc., to talk to my child about her sexuality. This is a heavy. Can you tell her to be sorry, please? A school council is, so I never got an answer to that from the school board. I wanted them to bring someone forth, but I figured if they're bringing such just porn to the school, they might have researched it. No one was brought forward. You have no one in that expertise, or at least you haven't told me so. So I went out and I found a person that did. This person, she spoke at the June 15th meeting at the school board, okay? She is a counselor, has a PhD. She's a doctor of philosophy, licensed clinical professional counselor, certified therapeutic counselor, licensed clinical professional counselor. She's got more designations than I can even understand, for heaven's sakes. And she spoke, and she was she can say it better than I can, but what all of us have to understand, even if your children are gay or on that path, is that seeing the images at this age, their minds, they understand, they take in information, but they don't understand what the repercussions are. Okay, that's what she told me as a professional. So they act on things and don't realize what the repercussions are. Okay.
Thank you so much.
Hello, Alex, 2020 graduate, Windham High School. So I really don't want to be speaking up here today, to be honest, but and I'll make it quick for everybody that has things to do, but I have a little sister who's in middle school, and she just learned how to snowboard this year, and she's just learning a lot of things, and I just don't think that that's one of the things that I want her to learn. You know? And I don't think that she wants to learn that either, whether she knows what she's learning or not. That's kind of the point. I think that you have to take into consideration how undeveloped anyone is at that age. If they make the decision later in life, that's okay. But when they're, and at that age, you know, it should be the age of consent. I mean, we're talking 11 years old. They're not even the age of consent. And so if there's going to be a boundary, it should be I mean, if you're going to be stubborn enough, you should put it at least 16. You know, and that's really young. I don't even agree with that, but if you guys are going to have one or the other, it has to be at least that, like high school, which is freshman year. I mean, I don't know if that's, I don't like that either, but if you guys aren't going to come into agreement, you can't do it that early. It should be 18. It should be 18. I don't know. I didn't write anything down, so I'm kind of just going off the top of my head, but I really just don't agree with it, and I think it should be stopped. So, thank you.
Hi, my name is Jay Fuller. I am a graduate of Windham High School's class of 2022. And I'm a paleontologist in training and just a regular caffeine-addicted college student. But I also happen to be queer and transgender. So you know where this is going. I don't have a label, and I don't need one. I'm just me, and that's what matters, like the protagonist of Genderqueer. And this book that you all are so angry about is something I wish I had in my youth. But I didn't, and I still ended up like this. I learned about it through online resources and friends, not for school or books, unfortunately. But most of all, and I really want to underline this, I always knew I was different. I was never a girl, and I never will be one. In fact, I just got my top surgery a few months ago. And I just want to say I'm just sick of people debating my mere existence. Seriously, my personal life is none of your business, nor is my happiness. Before I became who stands in front of you today, I sat on the floor almost every day in the bathroom sobbing and trying not to throw up because my body wasn't my own, and I didn't know what was wrong with me. Nothing was wrong with me, it was just that nobody told me why I felt like this, which is why this representation is so deeply important. That being said, no matter what you do, trans and genderqueer people are always going to walk the earth with you, and they just want to live, so you may as well just find something else to worry about. They aren't hurting anyone. And I hope to whatever DNA there may or may not be, depending on what you believe, that trans and genderqueer, or just queer kids in general, have people in their lives that actually love them, because my heart would bleed for them to have an unsupportive and bigoted parent. I've read what you all had to say. I agree with some of you. Well, the rest of you, please listen to me very carefully. This isn't how you care about kids. You just care about your bigoted ideas and ignorance. Stop pretending and just support these trans kids. They always have a much higher suicide and murder rate than any other group in the US. Kids will die and hearts will break if this ideology continues to spread. And being a grown and transition queer person myself, I will always have a voice for them. We've always been here and we will continue to be here no matter what you do. I'm curious if you will ride the current with us or fight it to the wrong side of history. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Helen May. I'm a resident of Windham and a parent in the RSU14 district. First of all, I just want to mention that there's a lot of conflation between Nick and Charlie and genderqueer and the audiences which they are meant to address. And I think that's been done on purpose. The debate to ban genderqueer has been publicly couched in polite, often depoliticized language by many of its detractors, at least by the more media-savvy ones anyway, but this is just in public. Behind the more public practiced attempts to link the book in question to concerns about basic decency or pornography, all pretenses of charitability are off. We recently had local citizens on the Ray Richardson radio show openly expressing skepticism in the ability of our professional teachers, librarians, and administrators to be able to do their job or even know right from wrong, as defined by their own narrow worldview. Social media sites like the main source of truth are posting personal and private information about staff members in order to bully them. Disinformation about transgender people is being spread by community members on the main wire and in both public and private Facebook groups where people are being called groomers and pedophiles for supporting trans kids, or what they term the woke agenda, whatever that means. There's a distinct lack of respect and even outright hostility toward public schools and the teachers, librarians, and administrators who make it their labor of love to staff them. There needs to be leadership to support and protect teachers and staff from personal and legal harassment. There also needs to be leadership responsible for correcting misinformation and turning down the temperature of this rhetoric. The attacks on genderqueer and other LGBTQIA books are coordinated and nationwide. Our kids are caught in the middle of a culture war that is attempting to dehumanize them, like my trans child. It should be noted that genderqueer was only checked out of the high school library twice, once by the child of a conservative activist. But I thank this activist, because otherwise I would never have read it if these activists had not made a stink about it. Neither would my non-binary child, who finally saw a protagonist who had a similar journey of self-discovery. It was a revelatory read, and the controversial parts need to be read in context in what's said about consent. There are classic books that kids are reading that involve sexual assault and a very marked lack of consent, like Speak, Beloved, or A Handmaid's Tale. My senior in high school asked me, why are these folks not concerned about the orgy and the Great Gatsby? There begins to become a slippery slope about which books should be restricted for children and whether these books just tell us some deep or sometimes unwelcome truths about the human condition, which ultimately can serve to make us better humans through the telling of their stories. There's a desire to impose the will of the few upon the community to ban books.
Thank you, Ms. May.
In spite of a greater good.
Hello, my name is Sarah Davis, and I'm a resident of Raymond. And I'm kind of shaken up here. I cry for the death of Jordan Small Middle School. I realize what a wonderful place we get to be when I come out to things like this all the time, and think it's really troubling that maybe we're going to end up in a much bigger world surrounded by all of them. But I'm here today to say that very simply, I do not support banning any books in any of our schools. I have seen both the books in question. I think, as was stated previously, the issue is intentionally conflated, intentionally drawing attention to the more aggressive book and suggesting that middle school students are exposed to that, which is not, in fact, the truth. In fact, my fifth grader, a sixth grader, when she was a sixth grader, wasn't even allowed to read Hunger Games because that was a 7th and 8th grade book. So people are overstating the issue, and they're working to ban books. There are plenty of books that make me uncomfortable. I started to read my children Huck Finn. I couldn't finish. The language in there makes me uncomfortable. That doesn't mean the book should be banned there or anywhere else. I've heard some of the most disturbing things I've ever heard in my life just standing back there. I've heard some pretty disturbing things about what people think and what people think books make them do. I think we need to address that outright. But it is our job to make all literature available to kids, to trust in school librarians, to pick age-appropriate things, to not conflate the issue, and as stated previously, to not get engaged in a political war and put our children at the center of what's really a conservative liberal struggle that's going on throughout everywhere else. And so please, I encourage you all as school board members to do the right thing here, stand up for our children. Parents have choice. If you don't want your kid to bring home a book, you can absolutely make that clear. You can make that clear to the children and the school. You have all the choice in the world. If this were forced curricular, I think we could have a different conversation. It's simply being available in a library is a totally different thing. Thank you. Thank you.
Sir.
Hi, my name's Matthew. I'm also a resident of Windham. Regardless of what our families look like, I think most of us think that all kids should have the freedom to be themselves and to realize their potential. Certain political and ideological radicals want to exploit our books, our history, to divide us into boxes based on what we look like, who we love, and what our genders are. They believe that the current policy, which allows them to choose what their own children access, isn't enough. What is being insisted here is that they be allowed to take that freedom to decide away from other families who they disagree with. Life is messy and unpredictable. It is challenging. Families should be free to make their own choices about how they negotiate these challenges. It can be difficult for us to make sense of unfamiliar things, and it is far too easy to quickly dismiss others' experiences. Parents of already marginalized LGBTQ kids don't want or need intervention from people unwilling to understand their experiences. It is no coincidence that nearly every book targeted is LGBTQ, and that is not lost on LGBTQ kids and families. This is familiar territory now. First it was bathrooms, now it's sports and books and medical care. We've heard a lot of people up here tonight say that it's not about gender, that it's not about queer kids, that it's not about a specific group of people. And then 2 seconds later, somebody shouts from somewhere in the back something that just confirms everything that I've just said. It's evident, it's obvious. I don't even understand the point in trying to hide behind it anymore. If you believe it, just say it. Stand up for it. If you really believe it in your heart, speak up and say it out loud and use the words you're all thinking and what you're muttering all in the back. Great. We can all see your faces. We all know who you are. At least you have the courage to stand up here and say it. Use the words you really want to use.
Ladies and gentlemen.
All we're asking here is that the current policy that allows for families to choose for themselves how they negotiate the challenges in their own households be preserved. People have a right to choose how to raise their own children. Everyone can choose to restrict access for their own kids to whatever materials they like. They do not have the right to extend that control out of their homes and into the schools as well. Let people choose for themselves how to raise their kids. Thanks.
So, as most of you know, I'm Adam Zajac. I was actually going to wait till the end to discuss this topic, but since everybody is attacking most of the people here about being anti-LGBTQ, I figured it would be a good time for me to come up right now and start talking about another book that is in the high school that just got removed secretly because they can't find it on the shelves, even though it hasn't been checked out. Let's discuss what it is. Identical. The story of two 7-year-old twins that are sexually assaulted by their father multiple times. And I would really like to read an excerpt in it, and I would like to know how this has anything to do with any sort of curriculum that the school children need to learn. Kaylee was used to Daddy's visits, but that night, she too felt something different in the air. Rage, lust, sorrow, perversion, all mingled in Daddy's sweat. There was nothing gentle about how he threw back the covers. Already naked, he pushed Kaylee to one side, flopped beside her. I could tell she was afraid. This wasn't her daddy. This was a demon. His evil, hard and sharp as a steel blade, ready to slice into her. It did. His attack was brutal, bloody, wordless, except for vicious, shut the fuck up at her pitiful scream. A plea to please no, Daddy, no, it hurts. Oh, I cowered, sick at the sight, but unable to divorce myself from the horror. I felt Kaylee's pain, and when Daddy was done and she cried, I cried too. That was the sister watching her little sister get raped by her father. This is the shit that we have going into our libraries, and you're complaining about anti-LGBTQ? I've been attacked all week on the Windham Community Board because I'm sticking up for my children. This is absolutely ridiculous. And I will say this right now because I discussed this matter personally with the middle school principal and the librarian, who's only been here for a year and got her master's degree online. And guess what? You gotta cut me off?
I'm sorry, your time's over.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm just gonna let you know. I'm not talking about the librarian. I'm talking about the vetting process.
Your time is over, sir. Your time is completely over.
The vetting process is bullshit, and that's your job, Howell.
Your time is over. Thank you.
Leave it to me to have to follow that. My name is Christine Williams. I am a mother of 4 graduates of high school recently. 2 were foreign exchange students that went to the high school just for a year. One is now back in Ukraine. And 2 from high school, one class of 2022, the other class of 2020. Thought my days of school board meetings were far behind me in the rearview mirror, but I still have nieces in this school system. I still have cousins with children in this school systems. I still have friends and neighbors, and I'm still really concerned about what I'm seeing and hearing about the school system. I neglected to say at the beginning, I apologize, I am a Windham resident, and I vote at every opportunity I get. I voted for a lot of you, not all of you, and I'm gonna vote again. After 3 generations of our family attending Windham schools, I thought our problems were solved when our kids made the decision to leave RSU14 and attend a district that had higher educational standards. That is an option that all the parents have. I volunteered in the school system. I loved it. But I think it's losing its way. I think there's material that's showing up that is just simply not age appropriate for the kids that are in this school. I wasn't planning on talking today. I just kind of heard last minute. A friend asked me to come talk, and I said I would. I volunteered here. I went quickly online when I got done today and looked and grabbed the current volunteer application. Besides name, address, and phone number, there's only 3 questions on that volunteer application. 2 of the 3 deal with sex. I have it if you want to see it. I went and pulled the internet policy for laptop use of the kids, and the internet safety policy reads, all users and their parents and guardians are advised that access to electronic network may include potential for access to materials inappropriate for school-aged pupils. Every user must take the responsibility for his or her use of the computer network and internet and stay away from these sites. I tried to find the dress code because that was a real big deal when my kids were here. I couldn't find it on the public website. Maybe I didn't dig deeply enough, but I didn't see the dress code. But I dare say if a student showed up in a t-shirt with vulgar images or words, there'd be consequences. It wouldn't be tolerated. They'd probably be asked to change. Pretty confident if a volunteer or an ed tech or a teacher touched a student in ways that were beyond certain boundaries, it wouldn't be tolerated and there'd be consequences.
Is that right?
I'm pretty sure that if a
I'm
teacher
sorry, your time
engaged
is
in
over.
pornography, it wouldn't be tolerated.
Thank
and
you.
I ask you not to tolerate it either.
Hi, you can hear me. I'm Dr. Robin Frost. I'm a longstanding resident of Windham. I have 3 children that graduated from Windham High School and a 14-year-old that won't be graduating from Windham High School. I will be short and sweet, hopefully. Just a couple points I want to make, and I really did not want to feel like I had to be here, but I felt like it was really important because the time invested in this community is so important to me as a business owner, and having 3 children successfully graduate and have a college degree is important to talk about this. Children are what matters. And I think the points that we're missing is we're talking about like how we're alienating certain children that feel a certain way. But the bottom line is that the books that we're talking about are said to have a value for this group of children. But what you're doing is you're attaching a value associated with oral sex or sexual intercourse to these children. How is that giving these children value? It's not. So in essence, you think that we are helping these children or we're doing something horrible as alienating these children, but we're not. We're attaching a value to them that their only worth is associated with this sex, oral sex, in these relationships. It doesn't talk about what they've achieved. It doesn't talk about their personal interconnections. It doesn't talk about any of it. And quite frankly, my second point as physician is the health concerns. You're promoting a book that you are promoting underage drinking. And your DARE program here, it by far is one of the best programs I've ever seen. I will tell you that when you do that and you undermine that and you're teaching these behaviors through this type of book because you think you're helping a group of children, you're also promoting unsafe sex, unsafe oral sex, sexually transmitted diseases that we're not talking about. Does this book talk about that? Hey, warning before you read this, we're perpetuating these behaviors. It's not healthy. We have health teachers that can handle this, that are well trained. We have social workers that can handle this, that are degreed. We have psychologists that can help in this. We have a department that solely is responsible for children's and their safety. Why are we doing this? I don't understand. And I drove 3 hours. I didn't want to drive 3 hours.
Good evening. My name is Barb Murray, and I am an almost lifetime member of the Windham community. We have 4 generations of Windham High School graduates in my family. And I want to thank the RSU14 district for providing a wide range of materials to our student community that support and reflect the RSU's mission commitment to establishing a safe, supportive, and inclusive community with success for all. This evening, I have heard restricting ideas, labeling, name-calling, sound bites for the media, and book banning attempts made by a small but vocal minority of this community. I speak on behalf of the First Amendment rights of our students to access the materials that they need to. Parents absolutely have the right to control their child's access to those to specific books within the guidelines of their school policies, but they do not have the right to control the access of every child. Our district has clear, detailed policies in place to address individual concerns. Kate, thank you for reviewing those at the beginning of the meeting. If you use the search button, you will be able to find all of those policies. I was able to find them in about half a minute. So I strongly urge that the residents of Windham and Raymond use these tools and follow the procedures that have been voted upon and approved by our school board. In specific, the instructional and library materials selection file IJJ that Kate read from, and there's a citizens challenge of educational media form that I would suggest, if you have these great concerns, fill it out. And that is a file IJJ-E. Those are all in the school policies, and you need to take it upon yourselves as citizens of this town to do your work. And if you do not feel that this school system is where your child needs to be, you absolutely have the right and the privilege to remove them and to homeschool them.
You're up.
I'm up, okay.
You're up.
So I wasn't planning on speaking tonight. I'm Steve Adams, by the way. I know I've met some of you before. I teach at the high school, and I've lived in Windham my entire life. I'm a Windham grad. And I actually had no intention of speaking. I kind of came up first and foremost to kind of share some positive things, to give people a chance to take a breath and kind of let things cool down. There's a lot of commentary in the crowds, a lot of things going back and forth, a lot of language that doesn't necessarily make everyone feel safe all the time, no matter which side of the aisle you're on. So I just want to share tonight that we've actually had since the midterms have happened, this is my first school board meeting I've been able to attend since midterms. We've actually had a great year so far at the high school. We've actually, I encourage you guys to reach out to, we have some really cool sports records that's been set by different teams that just finished up. We have a robotics team that has, I can't remember what exactly they placed, but they actually just had a competition that they've been doing all year. Oh, okay, sorry, sounds correct, 7th. So they've done an amazing job. There's been some amazing work going on with some very rigorous programs and some very competitive programs that are run by staff that frankly have been putting up with quite a lot of accusations that we are pedophiles, that we are groomers, that there are signs up that we are handing out pornography to children, that we are should be sent to jail, that we could be put in jail for 5 years. So I just want to point this out that I'm really thankful that Chris sent out that update around the policy, especially the part in there about under step 1, talking about how individuals cannot make the decision, that no individual staff member can choose to remove a book from their curriculum or the library, so no librarian can individually on their own act unanimously. I thought that was kind of an interesting part that I've got lost in all of this, so it was nice to kind of see that policy. There's a reason I'm not talking about the books. I'll be honest, I haven't read either one of them, and I don't feel comfortable and I don't feel right speaking about a book that I have not read cover to cover and have only looked at and only seen a couple things posted online. So, like I said, just was trying to give kind of people a break and just want to remind that there are lots of people watching, lots of staff members, lots of community members who didn't feel comfortable coming here tonight out of fear of outing themselves or their students. There's been some, like somebody else had mentioned earlier, there's been some teacher personal information shared with some groups that have already in the past been involved in litigation regarding harassment of school staff members. So I just would like to kind of point that out, that these things impact the staff members that have been hired by the board to come here and educate the children to the best of our abilities, and we don't have any control over these policies and what's in the library. Thank you.
I'm Danny Davis, a resident and mother of children in the school district. I just want to kind of piggyback on the policy thing. We all know it's a policy, so we're following a policy. It's not book banning. It's a policy that was set forth. A little bit of repeat here. It's a policy created by the district. It can be changed. They actually can change it. The district lawyer reviewed it, policy, not book banning, earlier this month at a school board meeting, and he reported it was best practice. We're simply following policy that was put in place for this very reason. It doesn't mean we agree with the policy, but we're taking the proper steps for it, and we're utilizing policy to remove porn from the school. Just to summarize that, to make it more clear and easy to understand, we've met with the people who selected and placed the book, which is the librarians. The policy, IJJ, outlines that this is actually the superintendent's responsibility, but we found out it was delegated to the librarians. We then filed a written form, and the book is now being reviewed by the committee of 5 that was handpicked by the superintendent. If the book is not removed at this committee level, it will be moved to the school board members to review and decide. Again, different than book banning. The material in this book is porn, by definition. It is not suited for children for educational or inclusion reasons. This is not child-appropriate approach on having inclusion in schools. As you may know, by recent awareness, this is removing transparency from parents. It's removing the ability for us to parent. It is the sexualization of children, and some could even argue that it's indoctrination of radical gender theory. Anyway, this is one way we can stand against it for our children and all of our children. Some false accusations that have been put against us is that we're anti-LGBTQIA. No, we're not. That's as radical as saying everyone else is pro-pedophilia. Actually, the community should be upset with this movement because it stereotypes gay trans people who are pro-porn to minors. Another false accusation, removing this book removes representation of a child. No, it does not. It removes porn from school. And tying a book to a child's worth is child abuse. This is another false accusation. This is restricting access to students. No, it's not. They can get it many other places, like the public library. Another false accusation. Transgender and non-binary kids are being targeted. No, they are not. Books of this nature, whether it's transgender or heterosexual, are inappropriate. They just happen to be about non-binary and transgender children. This is book banning. No, it is not. It's removing porn from school through a process that was implemented by the school. Go get it at the public library. This is now my 3rd school board meeting since the day I found out about this. January 11th, I've spent every day on this. This group of passionate, caring,
Thank you very much, Ms. Davis.
Good job. My name is Diane Pike. I've lived in Windham for 35 years. My 2 daughters are grown up naturally. They both went to Windham schools. I had nothing but praise to say about Windham schools. They love their school, and I love this school. But my whole views have changed today. I listen to a lot of talk shows. I listen to a lot of people talking. This lady that was before me, she is so right. We are not against trans people. We're not against any binary. Be whatever you want to be. But please do not show my children that are 7, 8, 9, 10-year-old a book like Queer Gender that has explicit pictures in it. They don't need to see that at this age. This is a school to learn to read, write, arithmetic. Where is that gone? I am afraid, and I'm sure you people are all very nice people. And the school system is very nice. And children are lovely. Can we keep our kids for a little bit longer? They don't need to see it. They have their little lives ahead of them. I get so shook up about this. I'm very political. I love my country. And I'm just scared to death of what our schools are going to turn into. It's our last remaining thing that keeps us sane. And you people aren't letting us be there or do it. When I heard this, I wanted to cry. Did you people see the Laura Ingraham show last night? And the little 11-year-old boy that said he felt so uncomfortable. He didn't like this book. He was uncomfortable with it. But I guess out of the mouths of babes, that don't matter anymore. It's what you people matter. I believe in God. I hope he's up there. But I do also believe in the devil. And he's on this earth right now. And God help us. Thank you very much.
I'm going to introduce myself. My name is Mike O'Neill from Keeping Kids Safe, which is a nonprofit agency. We teach children against anti-bullying, sexting, internet safety, child sex trafficking. Okay? Do anybody know what the suicide rate in the state of Maine is? For 100,000, it's 16.8. Okay, this is from America Health Ratings. Okay, state of Maine. We have one of the highest child suicide rates in the country per capita. The capita is 10, we're at 16.8. Okay, it's time we get this critical race theory, all this pedophilia, take a step back, work with the parents, agree together on the curriculum that you want your children, these taxpayers are paying your salaries, want to have in their schools. Not what people that you want, but what they need. These children are going home arguing with, matter of fact, I had a friend last night whose daughter goes to Windham. They're arguing because of this, okay? She's at the point where she's so upset, she's like, I want to end it. This is ridiculous. She is 12 years old. She does not need to be going home fighting with their parents over what you guys are teaching. It's wrong, okay? These poor parents have a voice, and they need a voice. Okay, they're the taxpayers of this town. We got to work together to save our children. We have a highest rate of suicide. This is uncalled for. One is too many. Okay, and I teach kids and parents about everything about how to protect their children from grooming, from sex trafficking, from everything. I never thought I'd be up here talking to a school board about protecting our children. Enough is enough. Please take a step back, look at your curriculum, work with these parents together to save our children. They deserve it. They are innocent. Please do us a favor and keep them safe.
Hello, my name is Stephen Napolitano, and I'm from Windham. Many of the community members don't realize this, but the last couple of falls, there's a trend with the school that's giving a survey to the students, and this goes along with what's happening right now. So these are some of the questions, and this year you guys put in an opt-in. Well, at least the option was there, but you defaulted a child that they have to take the survey as an opt-in. Okay, instead of the other way around. In these questions, this is just a sample of, there was 133 to 170, depending on the age. During the last 30 days, how many times did you take a prescription drug? Have you ever had sexual intercourse? We're talking 6th grade, right? How old were you when you had sexual intercourse for the first time? Here are the options: 8 years old or younger, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13 or more. How many people have you ever had sexual intercourse with? Is it 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 or more? What are kids thinking? Oh my gosh, I've never done that. There's something wrong with me. Okay? I'm going to put it back on you for a moment, because some of you are for this and some of you are not. But if I were to say to Kate Bricks, said, if I asked you, when was the first time you ever had sex? Was it 8 years old? Or if I said to Jenny Butler, what age did you what age did you first have oral sex? Was it 9 years old? It's a little uncomfortable hearing those questions. What do you think it's like for a child? Okay? How do these survey questions support the approved RSU14 curriculum? Where's the data going? You won't even share that with us. You say it's not traced, but they're taking it on a computer, and there's an IP address that tracks it. Okay? I teach my children not to give personal data online or to strangers. Why is the school? I don't understand that. As far as the books are concerned, hey, if I said to Jenny Butler, why don't you have a story time? Get all the kids in your neighborhood together, get these books out and read it to them. Or if I said it to you, Mr. Howell, why don't you get these books, it's so educational, Brandon, put it in the youth group at your church. And I'm going to tell you why you wouldn't do it. Because you'd be called a pedophile and you'd be arrested. And I mean that with the most respect, just to get the point across. Okay? All kids are confused. They're trying to figure themselves out, and they're searching. Right? We're creating more of a problem here for them instead of helping them. Right? Stay in your lane, school, and let the parents parent. The school board makes policy. The school board removes policy. Use your power to remove these surveys and these explicit books from our school system. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Karsa Karen. I'm a resident of Windham. I have a child in high school. Last year, he came home with an article titled, "Why Slut Shaming is Such a Dirty, Potent Weapon." Why is this being discussed in an English class with 14-year-olds? Tell me how that is educational. Why are our children being given surveys that ask how old they were when they first had sex, if they've had oral sex, how many partners they've had, and what gender they identify as? This is nobody's business but that child and their parents. Why is the school wasting time on this when our children should be learning? The NWEA assessment scores for Windham for last year show that 48.5% of students fall below expectations for English, and 68% fall below for math. Isn't that where our focus should be? Instead, the school is teaching how many genders there are and bringing pornographic books into the library. Genderqueer is not the only book in question. While reviewing the high school library database, I've found that there are 68 books that contain explicit sexual content, including child rape, abuse, and prostitution. Of those, 25 are in the middle school and 6 are at Jordan Small. Children under 17 can't see a rated R movie in the theater without an adult present, but they can take out sexually explicit material from the school library without parental consent. We continually hear about how school is supposed to be a safe place. I think it's quite the opposite, actually. Kids are uncomfortable using the restrooms because the opposite sex is permitted to use the bathroom of their choice if they identify as that gender. The school needs to do its job and teach the basics and leave the parenting up to the parents.
I'm Kristen Day from Windham. In this debate over selection of library materials, there's actually only one primary question we have to answer, and this is not an attack on anyone or anything. What content is appropriate in school? This debate isn't about student representation, banning books, suicide prevention, social support, or rights to access. Does pornographic content belong in schools? Is the selection process adequate? Society evolves, but standards of decency in school need to be set above actual pornography in educational materials. Somehow, some books in school with porn content have become synonymous to LGBTQ representation in school. But tying the worth or well-being of students to the existence of any book is degrading, and it's a lie. It's emotional blackmail, is what it is. It's not the characters of the book, and it's not the title. It's some of the content. If you open the book and read it objectively, the author is an adult, it has adult content and themes, an 18+ rating, and these contents cannot rationally be defended for school. Like many of you, I'm a mom first, heart and soul. And harassment in school is a problem. With 2 kids through, 1 in high school now, I've witnessed the dramatic change in our schools firsthand. My daughter's middle school experience was a genuine struggle. She was harassed about her sexuality by students who are asked by the Civil Rights Club to open discussions about these private matters as part of their club goals. She's not political, but she does not want to talk about her sexuality in school. They insisted she was gay because she dressed gay and listened to gay music. She was then called homophobic because she wasn't at least bi. The same club in middle school put out their own survey without notifying parents, asking kids about their sexuality, then handed out pronoun PIDs for kids to label themselves in open discussion in school. And open discussion in school about sexuality and gender. It took over every aspect of the school for 3 years. By emphasizing differences and forcing conversation, discrimination and bullying are dividing kids more than ever. This literal programming for tolerance, acceptance, and equity is woven into curriculum, clubs, library content, and counselors' programming, and lawyers ensure policy is loose enough to enable it. This year, her teacher repeatedly told her class he was uncircumcised following multiple warnings.
I'm sorry, we're not...
When every aspect of school encourages the blurring of private boundaries, how can we be surprised? You board members apparently didn't know that genderqueer was in the library, but now you do. So I ask you, what are you going to do to supervise a superintendent, to supervise a librarian, to ensure policy IJJ is being ethically considered in material selection?
Thank you.
Hi. Geez, I just lost it. Dave Donnelly. I'd like to thank everyone in attendance tonight, left, right, up, down, whatever your vowels are, pronouns. I'd like to thank all you people for being here and doing what you do for our children. I would also like to thank Adam Zajac for letting me know what is going on in the library in the town of Windham. The reason why I'm here is because I find this book inappropriate, not because of gender, race, or what you may want to think of me or myself or what I think, but I have no problem with all people. Just be yourself. Genderqueer, I find inappropriate. If a child wears a shirt with an inappropriate phrase, it must be removed. If they get in a fight, they get sent home. If a child is to wear a sex toy to school, as shown in the book, will they be sent home or sent to the library? Not a joke. I'm still looking for my book in the library. It's called A Hardworking Business Owner Who Minds Himself. Hold on, just give me my 1 minute, okay? I'm a hardworking business owner who minds himself for the most part. I'm really not looking for my book. I'm just making my own book. I am my own self. I do what I do because I set my own goals and I achieve them. I don't need anybody to put me here or there or in this block or that block. I have my own block. Any pornographic books like this just need to go out of the school. I can't imagine anyone bringing these books out at Thanksgiving or Christmas to have their child read to their grandparent. If you find the need for a book like this, go buy it and leave it at your house. Thank you.
Hi, I'm Barbara Bagshaw. I have been coming to these school board meetings for probably 3 years, off and on, or watching them on Zoom. Everybody's said everything pretty much on my list of things to say. I was recently elected to represent half of Windham, and I have been receiving numerous phone calls and emails regarding the content of these books. And I have watched the parents come before you for 3 years, asking you to listen to their concerns. And it seems like Drummond and Woodsum is running the school. And you're listening to the parents, but you're not hearing them. They know best what's for their children, okay? And they feel like they're being shut out of the process. And I would like to see everyone do better. Our test scores are in the dumper. okay? We need to focus on education, and nobody is attacking LGBTQ. Their concerns are the content of the books, okay? And it seems like it's very easy to get a book into the library and almost impossible to get it out. And nobody's looking to burn books. They just would like some screening, okay? And if I read from genderqueer or identical in the park, I'd be arrested, okay, to a child. Or if I spoke to my coworker about the content in those books, I would be fired. It would be considered sexual harassment. How is it okay to be giving this to children? So dig down deep. It's not about winning or losing. Maybe let the parents buy the books or keep them in the adult bookstore, or just focus on education. Thank you.
I'm Jim Stoltz, live in Windham. Kate, I heard your long delineation on how books get approved. I was in the coffee shop today, like most people my age, and the newspaper is there. The guy comes in, sits down, and I said, "What do you think of this?" I said to him, "There's a young lady behind the counter. She's in her mid-30s. If I gave you a book and asked you to go up there and read a passage out of the book, and she got embarrassed, or her face got red, or your face got red, you think that book belongs in a public school?" And his answer was no. And since we have, I have 3 minutes, I'm probably going to say something that will offend a lot of people in here. I was offended, personally, by that segment that that gentleman read out of the book, whatever it was, this evening. But I wish that we had a very small book in our high schools that would teach kids, you borrow money, you borrow $100,000 to go to college, you're going to have to pay interest, you're going to have to get a job after you get out of college to pay for that and to support yourself. And if they could learn some very simple things like that instead of all the stuff you've been talking about tonight, I think our society would be a lot better off.
My name's Chris Patterson. I'm a Windham resident. Sorry if I stutter and don't speak clearly. I just got off a 12-hour shift, but I needed to be here. My son's not in school yet, but he's going to be very soon. And I just wanted to come out and voice my opinion about all this stuff I've been hearing. And I made the mistake of looking up the genderqueer book and look at the contents of it. That was friggin' disgusting. I'm just really concerned about if there's these kind of books getting snuck into the library and into classrooms, what else is my child going to be exposed to when I'm not around? I really want him to go to these schools, like the high school and the middle school. I've been in and around them, touring them, all that. They look like good schools. I want them to be well socialized and well developed. And I would like to homeschool them, a little bit, but we just don't have the time. Like I said, I just got off a 12-hour shift. I'm tired as hell. I really want them to go to school, but if I can't trust what the board, what the teachers, what the librarians are going to be putting in front of them, how can I trust the school system to give them a decent education? I think that's about it. I want to go home and go to bed. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Beth Hall. I've lived here my whole life. Raymond is my sister town. I'm finishing up what Kristen Day was trying to get through till her time was up. You board members apparently didn't know that genderqueer was in the library, but now you do. What are you going to do to supervise the superintendent, to supervise the librarian, to ensure policy JJ is being ethically considered in material selection? Will you now insist on more oversight than just a librarian ordering a book with one clear because a student asked for it? Now the district Now that you know that once it's ordered, it is a legal issue to remove it, you are the 9 responsible for the district, and you can implement a genuine review process to represent all students for library materials. Someone told me last week that the lawyers had already received the related policy. It's legal, and there's no plan to further review it. That was bold considering growing community discourse on the issue. I'm submitting a policy proposal to supplement IJJ to this board for consideration entitled Exclusion of Pornographic and Other Inappropriate Content in the Education Material to prompt our RSU board to give proper treatment to this community concern, and thank you. The Maine Education Association, one of their missions is partnership. We believe that the keyword partnership with parents and families, communities, and other stakeholders are essential to quality education and student success. That's what the Maine Education Association states. Plain and simple, pornography in our schools disguises as art and education in order to slide it through is bogus. It's luring the innocence out of our children up to the age of 18. Don't wait, act now. Windham needs to be the model. I stated 2 weeks ago that Windham needs to be the model. The state, the country, national, everyone needs to find out. We've already gone national. They need to know where our state stands and where our community stands on this issue. Take the high road. Let everyone know how we feel. Let everyone know what's right. Stand for what's wrong and make it right.
Just listening to everybody tonight, I feel like there's a deeper conversation that has to be...
Could you state your name, please?
Sorry, my name is Jackie Zisk. It seems we're communicating a lot of really mixed messages to our kids about sex. I think we even communicate them to ourselves and within our culture. Is sex trivial and fun, animalistic, where pleasure is the priority? Is it a connection between two people that's very meaningful? Or is it the most important thing in our lives? I think no matter what we tell ourselves or what we see on TV, most of us adults treat sex like it's a meaningful connection between two people. For instance, adults will end decades-long relationships and break up families if a partner cheats, because sex is a meaningful thing that connects people. We spend millions of dollars with therapists discussing our experiences with sex because sex is weighty and it means something. A rapist is dealt with much more harshly and leaves much deeper wounds than a groper in a bar, because sex is an emotional, physical, and I would add spiritual experience. And when there is a violation, it can have emotional, physical, and spiritual effects. So I would ask, are we equipping our children to understand the significance of sex as we understand it? As more than just physical, more than just experimental, more than just fun? Or are we overemphasizing its significance in such a way that our children feel pressured to participate in sexual activity before they're ready? After hearing a prepubescent 11-year-old read a sexual encounter from a book in his Windham Middle School, I'd say we are sending him all the wrong messages. According to Planned Parenthood, the average age when people start having intercourse is about 17. Only about half of high school students have ever had intercourse, and even once they start having it, most teens don't have it frequently. In a more recent stat from 2018, researchers found that 53% of 18 to 24-year-olds were still virgins. So I guess my question is, why are these hypersexual books so important in our schools that some are actually willing to fight to make them stay? Why does sex have to be emphasized in our schools outside of sex ed and STD instruction even more than it already is in our culture? You may say, and rightly so, that our kids are inevitably going to be exposed to things we wouldn't want them to be exposed to by their peers, at a friend's house, at the movies, or on the internet. But that doesn't mean we throw up our hands, stop trying to protect them where we can, and expose it to them ourselves. If your young child sees a horror movie trailer on TV, we usually hope it doesn't scare them and give them nightmares. We don't say, oh well, now let's go watch Texas Chainsaw Massacre, honey. If your teenager gets drunk at a party, you don't all of a sudden start supplying them with alcohol and get wasted with them. My point is, just because we don't have control over everything our kids are exposed to doesn't mean we relinquish control altogether. Our kids are worth protecting at the best of our ability and according to our own values. We're not trying to ban a book from the population. We're trying to ban a book from a school like we ban kids under 18 from rated R movies at theaters. Though you are welcome to rent that movie and watch it at home with your kids if you choose. We're certainly not trying to devalue any child, and I am so sorry to hear anybody in here say that they've been devalued or you feel devalued by any of these conversations. That is not the goal.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
My name is Rebecca Palazzi. I have a sophomore and a senior here in Windham. I've been involved with the district in the past, and I'm not a talker, but so I took lots of notes. I'm a firm believer in be who you want to be and love who you love. We should love all those around us the way they are and accept them for who they are. And I understand that a lot of our students might not have that support at home. But that being said, the books that we're talking about, that's not what this is about. This is about crossing the line, blurring the lines, sending mixed signals to our students. If my child were in art class and drew a picture that the pictures that are illustrated in the book Gender Queer, not only would he be disciplined for it, he would be detention, possible parent call, possibly suspension, depending on what he's drawing. So why are we providing that to him? Why are we giving them those images if they're going to get in trouble for them if they were to draw them? What if they wrote a book about it? So I'm asking why we shouldn't be providing that to our students and over-sexualizing our youth. Another note, all school employees are state-mandated reporters. What that means is they are legally obligated to report suspected abuse. This includes sexual abuse. Warning signs of sexual abuse, if you Google Maine state-mandated reporter, it not only gives you all of their regulations and things to look for, some of the highlighted for sexual abuse is inappropriate sexual knowledge or behavior for a child's age, disclosure or other concerning statements from a child, sexual language or sexual storytelling. God forbid a student in our district is getting abused and a teacher overhears and they think that maybe it came from a book, so they don't report it. How would you feel if that student fell through the cracks simply because we've put this material in our schools? As a staff member, we're obligated to protect our students. We are blurring that line that we can't unblur. And it sets us up for failure. It sets our students up for failure. We have to do better. We have to find another way. If it's about supporting the community, great. We need to find another way to do that. Because at the end of the day, all these parents care about their kids. All the stuff, I know you guys all care about the kids. You wouldn't be up there if you didn't care.
Thank you very much.
Hi, my name is Kristen Gorovin, and I live in Windham. The first time I read these books, I was not comfortable with them at all. It sounds like there are processes and meetings in place that are dealing with what the future of these books are in the school libraries. I've been sitting here for a couple hours, or however long we've been here, listening to members of the community, and it's sort of made me sick to my stomach. But what I know is you are elected by this community, and that's how parents' voices and opinions are represented by your actions. That's democracy. When the young man who was the high school teacher spoke earlier about the great things that are happening at the high school, and he started to talk about his colleagues who are being referred to as groomers, pedophiles, indoctrinators, I want to speak on behalf of the teachers for a second. a former second grade teacher, and now I teach at UNE. I teach the future teachers of this country. Yeah, you did.
If you could just address the board, that would be great.
Thank you. It was stated. It was stated a couple of different times. I took notes. These teachers, these comments kill their souls. And I think we need to take that into account. There is a massive teacher shortage across this country right now. And when we hear comments like this, it's just going to make it worse. You do have the option to homeschool your children, but when we hear things like the views of the schools, the person's view of schools have changed because of these books being in the libraries. They're scared to death of what our schools are turning into because of a book. Think about the hundreds and hundreds of people who are in these schools each and every day. You can yell all you want, but think about the hundreds and hundreds of teachers who are in these schools every day, pouring their blood, sweat, and tears into the success of their students. It's just not right, and I think that if we get into book banning, we're heading into other slippery slopes that states across the country are facing right now. And I just want the teachers of the district to hear me say thank you for all you do every day, because it's hard.
Thank you.
Rosemary DeAngelis. I do not believe this is about pornography or child safety, but about fear. The reaction is hateful, discriminatory, and about one thing, the LGBTQ community and the goal to eliminate their existence through hate, nothing more. The Institute of Sex Research existed in Berlin, headed by Magnus Hirschfeld, who campaigned for LGBTQ rights. And after the Nazis gained control of Germany, the Library on Gender, Same-Sex Love, and Eroticism and Treatment for Matters of Gender and Sexuality was burned in the streets. There have been, for decades, books that highlight heterosexual acts. Lady Chatterley's Lover by D.H. Lawrence is the story of a woman who had a torrid love affair while married. Breakfast of Champions included the drawing of a clitoris. Midnight Express highlighted the behaviors in Turkish prisons. Romeo and Juliet, two teens experiencing their first love, and the final scene in Grapes of Wrath would make the list of banning if that was exactly what the issue is, but it is not. Since you were read to by an 11-year-old, let me also read all these books from the library, from Lady Chatterley's Lover. And when he came into her with an intensification of relief and consummation that was pure peace to him, still she was waiting. She lay still, feeling his motion within her, his deep sunk intentness, the sudden quiver of him at the springing of his seed, and then the slow subsiding thrust, this ridiculous bouncing of the buttocks and the wilting of the poor, insignificant, moist little penis. The message, anal sex is a little silly but enjoyable. Fanny Hill by John Cleland. I saw with wonder and surprise, what? Not the plaything of a boy, not the weapon of a man, but a maypole of so enormous a standard that had proportions been observed, it might have belonged to a young giant, the proud stiffness of which distended its skin, whose smooth polish and velvet softness might vie in that of the most delicate of our sex, and whose exquisite whiteness was not a little set off by a sprout of black curly hair. And the message? That's a nice cock. And from the Bible, there she lusted after her lovers, whose genitals were like those of donkeys and whose emission like those of horses. Ezekiel 23, 2021. So these books are all in the library, in the school libraries. Fact, Nick and Charlie is rated for age 13 and up, and Genderqueer is rated for age 12 to 18, not 18 and up. Let's not be fooled what this is. It is an anti-LGBTQ drive. It is fear. Please do not ban any books. You are stronger than this. You are smarter than this. You are braver than this. Thank you.
Did somebody forget their glasses?
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I just don't want someone to have to read without the glasses.
Hi, my name is Charity Bodeker. I am from Standish, and unfortunately our board voted to keep the books. And I say unfortunately, I spoke at length about this. I grew up on Cape Cod. I also believe that people are free to love who they want to love. It's okay. It's all okay. But this book, being compared to classic works of art, in our school board, someone on the school board compared this book, Genderqueer, to Romeo and Juliet, which is laughable because most children can't even understand or read Romeo and Juliet without help from a teacher. I just don't really understand why the need we have to have this stuff in schools with children. We don't. We absolutely don't need to hurt these children, harm them. And this is not Nazi Germany. Nobody is gathering these books up and burning them in the streets. That's not happening. These books are available everywhere. They just don't need to be in the school. If I had a child come over to my home, I have a 15-year-old boy, and I had visitors, and we wanted to watch a television program or read a book together, it would definitely be age appropriate for every single person in my house. I would not just invite people into my library even, or to look at my books. I have Genderqueer. I read the book. It is quite interesting. It is quite interesting to me. I thought it was a very powerful book for an adult to read. It's a very interesting book. But I don't believe that a teenager should be reading this book. The problem is that, okay, maybe 16 or 17, age of consent, but we have kids in schools that are 13. We also have kids in school, and this is a true story, and I'm going to share this really quickly. I have a friend that has a child that's young. These kids were taking books out of the school library, and then they were bringing them on the bus and literally laughing about these books, these types of books. They were sharing them with everyone on the bus. That's what kids do. Some of them might read to gain their knowledge, but unfortunately, we're putting a lot of pressure on these kids to act responsibly and do the right thing. But come on, they're teenagers. My son still leaves his socks on the table. And he's 15. So,
thank you very much.
Okay, have a good night, thank you.
Hi, my name is George. I'm a resident of Windham. I'm a male, straight. No one should care who I am. I have a mother that lives in Windham also, and a little sister that goes to high school. I didn't even know this book was even on the shelves. And then when I heard an 11-year-old read some pages from a book, we're not even talking about 16, 18-year-olds, we're talking about 11-year-olds. And the main reason I'm up here is because the other ones supporting the other side said that we're just standing in the back heckling. Here I am. So I'm gonna thank Adam too. He gave me all the information from this book, and it's disgusting. I just wanted to be up here in support of him and his son and his family. I don't have kids of my own. I'm definitely not gonna be a resident in Windham if I do. But I'm here to support my mother and my sister that also voice very, very strongly about this book, and they feel personal about it, and they shouldn't be scared to say that they're straight. And if they can't talk about their sex experiences in school, she already said she couldn't, teacher told her she couldn't, then I don't understand why this book's here. And it should be banned. I don't know what we're calling it now, like burnings or whatever you want to call it. Just remove it. You guys are elected officials, and we pay your probably salaries, right? Is that, no, we don't. So you guys are just up there, doing whatever you guys do, not elected or have salaries. That's fine. That's pretty much it. I don't need my 3 minutes or 2.5 that you seem to give 5 to the other people that talk on the other side, but have a nice evening.
I'm his mom, Cindy Harris. I've been in Windham 12 years. I spoke at the last meeting, so I really don't want to reiterate it, but I am a proud heterosexual female. I am the mother of 3 heterosexual children. I've got 1 left in high school, and I just can't wait for her to graduate because we are out of here. She is the one that's, oh my God, causing me a lot of concern. You want to talk about teen suicide? It has nothing to do about your sexuality. It has everything to do about being a teenager. And this sexuality stuff shoved in their face every single day. Every single day. I'm struggling to get her through this year and next year. She wants to be a med student, and she's struggling because of this crap that's shoved in her face every single day, and it's sickening, it's disgusting, and it shouldn't be an issue. Your sexuality should be left at home. That is what goes on behind closed doors. Nobody cares. Nobody cares who you want to sleep with. Nobody cares who you want to have sex with. I asked her this morning, please do me a favor, sweetheart, and go in the library and find a book of 2 females having sex. Better yet, a boy and a girl having sex. You let me know if you find that book. And if you don't find that book, ask the librarian, because she's full of knowledge and she helps little boys. She will help you find the appropriate
I'm sorry,
book.
we can't speak about any school personnel.
So she didn't have the time today, so more to come on that subject. So if you want to keep this book on the shelves, then for inclusivity, then you need to include everybody, heterosexuals as well. The other issue is boys saying they're queer and allowed in the girls' bathrooms. How are they proving they're queer? Just because they say they are? Are you making them do a blood test? No. Are you making them do a psychological evaluation? No. Are you just allowing them in the girls' bathroom? You waiting for a rape to happen? Because that's what's happening. Boys are saying they're queer, allowed in girls' bathrooms, and rapes are happening in high schools around this country. And I will be the first one to file a lawsuit if a kid, a daughter, a girl gets raped in Windham High School. Thank you.
I'll be brief. My name is Doris Meehan. I'm a Windham resident for the last 52 years. I have 2 children that graduated from Windham High School, and 1 graduated from Shepherd's. I think I already said I did not intend to speak tonight, but I just wanted to reiterate what Heather Siraki said much earlier this evening, because I think it might have been glossed over. She talked about Corey Ten Boom's dad saying that he would not give her, his loved child, a weight that was too heavy for her to carry. And therefore, he would tell her more about sex when she was ready for that weight. And what I would like to ask the school board is to consider that. A physician here tonight explained the dangers of exposing children to sexual materials before they're ready. That's what parents here are concerned about. Let's not make them carry a weight they're not ready for. Let's protect our kids by taking these books out of the school library and putting them in the public library where they belong. And then when parents feel their kids are ready, or when the kids are ready, they can find those materials. But they don't belong in a public school where an 11-year-old or a 10-year-old or a 13-year-old who is not ready for it has to be exposed to it. Thank you.
Hello, I'm DJ. I'm from Jordan Small Middle School, and I think those books shouldn't be at schools because One, they have pornography in them, and they shouldn't be handed out yet to young kids.
Okay, hi, I'm Katie Murray. Hello. I just got here a couple months ago, so resident of Windham now. I'm from Texas, and so I know a thing or two about schools that ban books. I was in the book banning capital of the world, pretty much. So let me list a few of them. The Fault in Our Stars, 5 Feet Apart, The First to Die at the End, All Boys Aren't Blue, The Perks of Being a Wallflower, If I Stay, Looking for Alaska, Nick and Nora's Infinite Playlist, All the Bright Places, and Into the Darkness. Every single one of those depicts characters having sex or being assaulted. Every single one of them. They're young adult books, and they belong in the young adult section. Every single one of them. Every single one of them. They bring to light very important conversations. They bring to light all of the inclusivity that needs to happen to have these conversations. My oldest is 19 and now away at college, okay? And I've homeschooled my kids for 12 years now, so they actually have never even been in a school system, and it's funny to come here and talk, but it matters for other kids. My older daughter's friends, I saw them grow up in a community that said these types of things and that hurt them every single time they heard it from their community members. My daughter worked at a grocery store and was helping a customer out to her car. And the lady was like, "What would you like to be when you grow up?" And my daughter was 15 at the time. And her goal is to be a librarian, right? That is her goal, because libraries are important. The lady dead looked at her and said, "Don't do that, you'll get into pornography." That's literally the rhetoric that is going on. It happened in Texas. I see it happening here. It's disgusting. It's absolutely disgusting. Let the children read their books and teach your children to self-regulate. Just today, my 11-year-old said, "I'm not going to finish reading that book because it was a little too scary for me." Because one of the first things I did as a parent was to teach them how to self-regulate their own information. It's not that hard, just be a parent.
Hi, my name is Nicole Varney. I'm a Windham resident. I think that the biggest thing that we need to do here is separate emotion from logic, because I feel like a lot of people are taking it very personally about this. I don't even know where to begin. I can't even believe that I'm standing up here even having to have this conversation. I wrote some stuff here. Books such as the one in discussion have no place in a public school system. I would be extremely upset if those books were read to my child in a classroom setting by an adult, so the fact that they have access to it at school is appalling. I can stand here all night and tell you why I believe it's not okay, but I want to know from the school board why they think it is okay for students to have access to books with explicit pictures that show and talk about sucking cock. First of all, I don't care whose cock is being sucked. I just don't think that books, period, it should be in school that talk about sucking cock. I also think the school system is afraid not to allow these books because then they wouldn't be accepting of certain individuals, but I don't think that this is what this comes down to. I've heard others state more online, what's the big deal? They can see worse on the internet. Yes, that's completely true, but they can also learn how to build and detonate bombs on the internet, but I'm sure there aren't books on that in the libraries. I ask the school board and parents to stop making decisions based off of feelings and worries of offending people and start making decisions based off of what is right and wrong. These books should not be in the library, period.
Hi, my name is Julie Clifford, and I actually borrowed the 2 books that we're talking about from Adam Zajac, and although we may not agree on all topics, we do agree that these books are not age appropriate for the library. I'm going to read what I wrote. I have personally read 2 of the books in question. the book in the middle school, Nick and Charlie, discuss topics such as drinking, sex, and parties, which are not appropriate, and I do believe this book would be better suited in the high school library. The other book, Gender Queer, is a great read, an incredible memoir that touches on a lot of prepubescent and real-life teenage events. However, there is a page in this book with illustrations that would not be appropriate for a child under the age of 18. I found the book to be incredibly well written, educational, and overall an accurate life depiction for the LGBTQ youth. That being said, I would not want my freshmen in high school picking that book up and seeing those illustrations, regardless of the gender of the characters. If the characters in those books were heterosexual, I would still say they are not best suited for the libraries that they landed in. I do not believe that sexual orientation nor gender identity of the characters in the book should be a deciding factor in whether or not they have a place in school libraries. Such a notion is quite frankly outdated and discriminatory. The real problem appears to be the review and vetting process of the books. I am not in favor of book banning, but I am in favor of ensuring books are at the age-appropriate libraries. I strongly feel that if we are removing books from libraries, we need to consider them all for review and not a select category or group of people to focus on. Thank you.
Is there anyone else who wishes to speak?
Hello, my name's Tommy McDonald. I'm from Windham. In the long run, this is school. We don't need to come here to learn about sex. We don't need to come here to learn about all this stuff that you guys are teaching. We should be learning math and stuff that we need to know in real life. In reality, the book has nothing to do with the gay, whatever it is. It's porn. It's wrong. I don't want to read it. I'm homeschooled. I won't be reading it. And it's wrong.
Anyone else who has not spoken like to speak?
My name's Randy Pratt. I'm not good at this, so excuse me. I'd rather be swinging a hammer than talking in front of all these people. But this is important to our future. I'm a Christian. I'm a Windham resident, a father of a 3-year-old, 11-year-old, and a 9-year-old. I'm a small business owner and a taxpayer. My 11-year-old and 9-year-old do not go to school here because thankfully we have the option of sending them to a different district. They used to go here, but due to COVID regulations and schools not opening, we decided to send them to another more open school district. I can't afford private schools. I work hard every day and provide to my wife and my 3 children. We do not have the capability to homeschool. We both work full-time. But I will not be sending my 3-year-old or any of my children, if I have the opportunity, to this school district for as long as it's being run the way it is. These books are sick. They do not belong in my house, and they sure as heck don't belong in my child's school where I can't always monitor what they see. I will work as many extra hours as I need to provide, to be able to pay for private schooling or let my wife stay home and teach. As a school, your job is to teach my son 2 + 2 and how to read a book. It is my job to mold my son's mind with my beliefs in God or anything else I want to, and that is not anybody else's job. Thank you.
Anyone else who hasn't spoken like to come to the podium?
I don't know, it's kind of short. My name's Melissa. I'm alumni here. So is my husband, and I have 2 children that attend, high school. I have a freshman, and then I have a 4th grader at Manchester. I've had a great experience at Windham, and I love the teachers and the staff, and I appreciate all of you. My son is a freshman, and that's a hard year, and he's having an awesome time, and he actually likes school, and he gets up early and goes. It's great. No complaints. Social life's great. I just want to say one thing. Everybody keeps saying it's not pornography. I'm like, okay, let me look up the definition. The definition of pornography, English, because we're in school, we're learning. It's a noun. It's printed or visual material containing the explicit description or display of sexual organs or activity. That's the definition of pornography. That's what those 2 books have. That's it.
Anyone else?
It's illegal.
Anyone else wish to speak? I don't see anyone else coming forward, so we will conclude public comment. Thank you.